It is a little cold outside, but here I am outside anyway, working on a Hyundai Sonata. Why? Because I don't drive it every day. And so the problems it has, the few minor problems it has, just don't stick in my mind. And I'll think about it when I'm in the car, and then I don't see the car for a week, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's a problem here. So despite the cold, I'm just, you gotta do it. Don't procrastinate, you gotta do it. And here's the first problem. Look at this dome light. Now, it's in the off position. If you put it in the door position, look at that. The lights are on, yet all the doors are closed. If you put it in the on position, lights are still on. So the only way to get the lights turned off is if you turn it off. That's annoying. That's not the way it's supposed to work. What's the problem? Well, I'm going to take this thing out and figure out the problem. I assume it's in the switch. It just seems like a switch thing. I don't know what else it would be. I mean, it certainly could be something else, but I'm thinking switch, so we're going to go with that until I'm proven wrong. Now, to take this out, there are 2 screws right there, and I think the rest of this is just plastic clips around the outside. I've got some plastic trim pullers. Now, you can use a screwdriver, but with a screwdriver, you run the risk of tearing up your headliner. Look at my headliner. That thing is, well, except for that little spot right there, is in very nice shape. The dome light's in very nice shape. You just run the risk of tearing stuff up with a metal screwdriver. This plastic will do it, and I'm guessing there's probably clips, a couple clips here, just a little plastic clips. You just need to press them in this way, and I'm guessing this thing in there slides out forward or back, one way or the other. So I'm gonna get these screws done and then gently just pry around the outside edge and figure out where the clips are. And then there are just some kind of clips around the perimeter. This is right here. I just used a plastic trim puller and just pushed in to get this one down. I did use this one as just leverage to kind of keep this one out so I could get around the edge. There are 2 clips right along the front on each corner. You can see that there. Again, I just used clips to push them in and get it down. And then there's the clip on this side right there. Once that's done, the whole thing, I don't want this to fall. Yeah, those screws, getting these out, they're very easy to just fall and scatter. Let's see. There it goes. All right, so look, you just need to pull it forward because there's those little clips there. We've got, that's some interesting wiring. Huh. All right, so we've got that wiring there. That looks like to be the only bit of wiring. All right, let me put the phone down. Let's disconnect this thing. Let's figure out why this dome light is acting up. So to disconnect that clip, you just need to push down on that top tab right there, and it will slide right out of there. So I figured out the problem to this thing. Now if I actually captured on video, that is going to be the tricky part. But basically, there's just this little metal tab that is kind of on a rocker switch, and it's just created a groove in the plastic. I'm thinking, like based on how the plastic looks kind of yellowed and browned, it looks like it might just be the heat from the lights and maybe the switch, the current going through the switch has melted the plastic to where that plastic is, even when it's in the doors position, it's touching the on, and that's why it's always on. How do you fix it? I don't know. I mean, it'd be nice to kind of disassemble this entire thing. There's some screws. I don't know. I need to take this. It's cold outside. I need to take this into the shop, figure that out. I don't want to figure it out in the car. So here is the switch. I'm going to see if I can properly show the problem that you've got. The switch is in the on position. You can see that metal, horizontal metal on the switch is touching this rightmost vertical post. That is on, so lights would always be on. So this is the off position. You see that metal contact to the left, it's touching the plastic. It's not touching the metal bar, either that one to the left or the one to the right, so the lights would always be off. So what is the issue? So I don't know if you can see that right there, about dead center of my screen. There's a plastic divot. I think just the heat going through the switch, through these circuits, has caused the plastic to melt just enough to create a little divot. And that divot is a problem because here's what happens. This is in the door position, but you can see that horizontal metal piece on the switch, it's touching that rightmost contact. So even though it's touching the center door contact, it's also touching the rightmost door contact, so it's always on. And that's my issue. This light never goes on when the door switch is activated because it is still contacting the on switch. How do we fix it? I don't know. I think we have to disassemble this thing completely where I can try to fill in that plastic divot. I think if I try to glue something on top of it, it's just going to rip it off. So I really need to fill in that divot. Will it melt again? Well, yeah, probably, maybe. Is there a better? I don't know. The better fix is for the Hyundai engineers to not make something that does this, to not rely on plastic, because it's electricity. It's heating the plastic up and it's melting it. So I don't know. So now I gotta see about disassembling this thing. I don't think it'd be bad. The only thing I don't know is how the switch part connects from front to back. It might just be a snap thing. I don't know. I don't want to disassemble it and mess it up, but how expensive can it be? Maybe I should look before I ask that question, because knowing Hyundai, this thing might be like $100. Who knows? There it is. You can see that little divot in the plastic right there. So right now it's in the off position, and that gives you a clear view of the divot. And that divot is what, so you can see on the horizontal piece, that brassy horizontal piece, there's two little, like, outward extrusions, and that should just contact the metal. Like right now it's touching nothing. The leftmost divot is touching the plastic, so we're in the off position. If you move it to the door, well, it's touching the door contact. But if you turn it on, it's still touching the on contact. This is where we're on this. I'm trying to disassemble this so I can actually get in there and fix that. There are 4 screws. There's one here, second, third, and fourth. And once you do that, there are clips. I've already kind of disassembled it. There are clips on this side, and then there's another clip on this side. You just pull these out and get this one loose, and there's some clips at the top here. Once those clips are loose, this thing will just come apart like so. You'll probably have bugs in there. I've already cleaned my bugs out. And so now I'm trying to get this thing loose. So you can see this rocker switch. It just has some little nubs it's on. I used a little plastic pry bar right there to get it apart. And I don't know. So that's the switch. That white part is the switch. I don't know if it just pops out. I don't know. But you can see it's lower now, so I can actually kind of see the nub in there. See right there where that little mark is, where the thing is sitting lower. And you can see that brownish look of the plastic. It's pure heat. Just that circuit is causing heat, and that's why the plastic melted. That's why it doesn't work anymore. That's going to be a common problem. I guarantee this is happening to every Hyundai car, unless it's just set to off. It's not a good design. And I really don't know the best way to fix it. I mean, yeah, I could use some plastic to fill that hole and fix it for now, but it's going to mess up in the future. And anything you put on, I mean, you don't want to build up too high, because then I'm not sure the switch will rock between the off-on door option. So I'm going to see if I can get this thing apart. I don't know. I'm trying to be gentle. I just don't know if it pops out or if there's something else. I don't see any kind of release. I think this little snap is probably what holds it in place, and the whole thing just pops out the bottom. But I want to be gentle and not break it, because that would be less than ideal. I got the switch out. Now, just one thing to note is it does have an oval shape, so it does fit in there in one particular way. You don't want to try to put it in upside down, but it won't fit upside down. So as you're assembling it, that will help you. And it does just kind of pop out this metal piece. So you get it focused. It springs in, so I used a plastic pick to push that in and get this thing to come out, and it did come out. So now I have full access to this area. You can see it's just melted. That's all it is. And I'm gonna fill that hole in. I'm still not quite sure what I'm gonna do there. I just know I need to fill it in using just a solder iron or wood burning tool. Wood burning tool does everything around here. That will at least fill the hole in where I can reshape that a little bit, but I still don't know the best way to fix it. I might see if I just have some spare, like, automotive plastic, because I have styrene. This, I think, is probably ABS or some variant. So I might see if I have something that I can use to fill in that hole, because if I'm just messing around with what's there, I run the risk of warping it or making a divot or doing other things. So if I could heat some plastic and kind of scoop it in that hole, that would be the best scenario. But I need some automotive plastic, which I probably have some lot of parts. Just note, talking about this melted plastic, I had another issue, same Hyundai car, where the driver's side taillight would keep burning out. And the problem turned out to be that the harness with the wiring, the harness was just getting too hot and melting, and I was replacing the bulb, and I realized it was getting more and more difficult to get the little socket with the bulb in there, and the thing had just melted. And it got to the point, I don't know why the bulb kept burning out. I think it is the wiring, because once I replaced the wiring, I no longer had to replace the bulb every couple of months. But it did. That harness, that connector, got completely melted. I had to, like, the actual taillight housing, I had to heat that up and kind of flatten that back out. But the harness itself that the bulb plugs into, that was completely melted trash. Had to replace it. And since then, it's been fine. But Hyundai really has an issue with stuff just melting. So here is a slightly
different way to tackle it. See that light spot right there? That is the backside. So this little nub has been melted into it, so that's where it's thin. It's lighter because it's thin there. So I'm potentially going to heat that up and push that out to try and get flush on the other side. I still think I want to try to fill that divot with something. I don't know. I need to look through my plastic, but you can see it right in there. You see it right now. It looks like kind of a burn mark. Don't know if I can get it in there. It doesn't want to focus when you do that. But it's right in there. It's just melted a little spot in there. It's supposed to look, or how it's supposed to work. So you got these two little nubs. And so if you're in the off position, that nub is hitting one of the contacts and then the other one is not. In the on position, it's hitting the other contact, or actually I think it's hitting two contacts. Where this is hitting one, off is hitting one. When it's on, it's hitting two contacts, probably like the ground and power, I don't know. With the door, it's hitting a third contact. But what's happened since this nub is melted, this whole piece is hitting all the contacts. That's why it's always on. And that's the issue. Now, you could build these nubs out, but I don't know how to do that. Building out the plastic is going to be much easier. That's the issue. You know, since that nub is formed to create this nub is supposed to hold it off of the on, and it's not. And so it's contacting it. Now, I potentially could change the shape of these a little bit, because it's really just like this edge right here. It's what's hitting it, but yeah, it's not the best design. So I remember I do have some ABS. ABS is a pretty rugged plastic. Might be what this automotive stuff is. I don't know. And I think my plan for right now is, I know it's thin right here on the back side. So I'm thinking I'm going to try to heat that up and push it in from the back, because it's just going to be very hard. You know, from the front side, I'm going to have to melt something in and put it in there. I mean, I might see how easily this ABS melts, and maybe I can like get a drop of it in there. I don't know that. I guess I will try that first. I'll melt the ABS, see if I can melt it into a liquid consistency, put a drop in that little divot, and if not, I'll just heat it up from this back side and push it in. And I may just like glue a piece of ABS right there, just give it a little more backing, so that, you know, the thinner it is, the quicker it heats. You make it a little bit thicker, maybe that'll prevent it from heating and melting, you know, maybe give me a few more months. We'll see. That is the plan. I'm going to see how well I can get the ABS to melt. I know ABS has a higher melting temperature than styrene. That's why I don't want styrene. I don't know. And yeah, maybe I'll just like take like one of these edges or ridges and see how quickly that melts compared to the ABS. And if the ABS melts way quicker, maybe I'll see if I can find something else. I was looking for automotive plastic. I have some. I hate to tear up a perfectly good piece, because maybe in 20 years I'll need it. You know, that's the way it goes. We'll see. I'm gonna play this plastic and we'll see what happens. So you see right there, that is the ABS I've added. I no longer have a divot. It's not quite as smooth as the surrounding plastic, but I've tried to make it, you can kind of see it's somewhat level with everything else. My only concern is, will this cause the little nub that slides across these three contacts, will it catch on what I've made? It is basically what I did. I took my little wood burning kit, just took the corner of the plastic, melted it until it was as liquid as it could be. It dries quite quickly, and quickly tried to just spread it onto this thing like, you know, you're putting ice on a cake, you know, or adding body filler to a car. Do I need to try to smooth it down? Not gonna be the easiest thing to sand, but it's relatively smooth. I don't know. So I hate to try to put the switch all the way back in just to see if it works, but that may need to be the way to do it, just to make sure, because I don't want to put this all the way back in the car and realize it doesn't work. But it is. I mean, you can see it's kind of somewhat flat, and a little bit thicker is not a terrible thing, because that way maybe it won't wear out as quickly. And this little switch, it is spring loaded. You can see it's spring loaded, where it should kind of adapt to uneven terrain. I think I will add some to the back right in there just to think. You can see where it's thin, and you know, I've kind of been messing around with it a little bit, but I think just adding a little strip there and try to melt it in place to help just reinforce it. Hopefully it won't melt as quickly. So you can see I added a little bit of ABS to the back side of that. It's not the cleanest job in the world. A little tough, but I'm hoping that'll at least maybe reinforce it, prevent it from melting through so quickly. With a little bit of backer, it will take longer to melt, hopefully long enough to where it won't just completely break. I did take a little, where is this? I did take a little hobby file and just kind of file down the edge. I mean, it looks rough in this video, but filing it down, I mean, it's relatively flat, somewhat. So I think this will work. I think the only thing left to do is reassemble it and see how the switch toggles through. because these grooves on that backside, that's what makes it toggle and kind of catch. And I think this will work. We got to reassemble it and see if it will, but I think so. We certainly have made improvements. Have we improved it all the way back to how it should work? I don't know that, but we are headed in the right direction. Just from the eyeball test, it seems to be working. I mean, looking at how this thing seems to contact, like, yeah, it's a little crooked there, just the unevenness of the plastic, but it looks like that piece of brass or metal is contacting the things it should be contacting. The only thing to do is reassemble it completely, plug it back in the car. I'm not going to snap in all the clips, but just put in that socket and make sure that, see what's happening. But I think we're close, man. It certainly looks like it. I'm happy enough that I'm going to proceed. It looks like it's working. I'll take that. I don't think we're any worse off than we were before. Hopefully better. But I'm going to put this whole assembly back together. The clips, the 4 screws, plug it in the car, see if it works. Hope it works, because if not, don't really know what to do. I mean, trying to smooth out some of this plastic, I think, is it. Getting this thing in, it is okay to be a little rough on that, getting it in. If that little brass piece comes out, there's some very simple slots on each side. As I was getting it in, it came out. It just slots on each side, so you just need to press the spring, pop it back in place, and it should kind of tension fit. I'm reassembling this thing. This clips just snap together. And these screws, you don't want to strongman competition them. You meet any resistance, let it be, as long as they kind of seat in there. If you try to strongman this, you're just going to strip the screws because it is plastic. This thing is together. I'm going to give it a little bit of a clean up since I have it out. It'll be easy enough. I don't know if these are on or off. That's okay. I'm going to give it a big clean up since I have it out. Might as well. It'll be easier. Always leave things, leave them better than you found them. I think. Let's see. I mean, the button works. I wish it popped better. It seems like it doesn't pop quite as well. But that might just be this assembly and not me. So I plug this thing back in, I put it up there, and as soon as I plug it in, the lights are on like that. And so I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I just got in the car, maybe it takes a minute for the interior lights to go out. So then I cut it off. And it doesn't cut off. I'm thinking, well, it should definitely cut off. Like, what could I have done where it wouldn't cut off? So I cut it on. I'm going through all these things. I'm thinking, what did I do? Like, how? There's no way I could have done this. Like, I didn't connect anything across the contacts. And so I'm sitting here puzzling, what did I do? Maybe the interior lights just take a minute to go off, and I'm like, wait a minute. Oh. Yes, the map lights were on. I'm like, well, the door lights are off. That's good, because it should be off. Let me turn it on. Oh, it comes on. Doors off. So I'm going to open the door. Let me drop this thing ever so gently. You really don't want things hanging by wires like this, but, we're in dire circumstances. So I'm opening the doors. Door's open. Let's see what happens. So, door is open. Oh, the door light's on. I like that. Now what happens if we shut the door? I think it takes a minute. I could be wrong, but I think it does. I think it gives you a minute to, get your affairs in order. It was just off. We know it works. Does it take a minute? Things like this cause you to doubt everything. Are the map lights on again? I don't think so. No, that's not the map lights. So I did fix it. They were... Oh, there it goes. My gosh, that is like an indeterminate amount of time. I'll tell you what. But it works. It works. I can put this thing back in. Whew, man, I was scared. Like when I first put this in and it just was not going off. So it's fixed. It is... Let's just be honest. It's a shoddy design. So if you can have something heat plastic and fill in that divot, it'll work. And this thing... It works. Now, I was scared for a minute when I put it back in, and I did not realize the map lights were on. Now, how long will this repair last? I don't know. It's got to last, I would think it'd last longer than a factory piece, just because I did reinforce it with some plastic on the back. Will it last forever? I don't know. I don't know what kind of plastic this OEM stuff is. ABS is pretty durable plastic. It does have to get pretty hot to melt, but this, I don't know if what's in the car is stronger or weaker than ABS. So maybe it'll last forever, maybe not. It should at least last a while. I mean, in this car, I think this thing lasted years in the car, before it stopped working. Years? Yeah, maybe many years. I don't know. So I think released in for a number of years where this should be okay. But it is fixed. If your dome light button, if the dome light does not go off in your Hyundai Sonata
when you close the doors, this is the problem. I guarantee you every single Hyundai Sonata has this unless somebody's just left the thing off forever. Because if it is either in the on position or the door position and the lights are on, that electricity is going through the circuit and it's getting hot and it's going to melt it, because they shouldn't have designed it out of plastic, but they did. This is the fix. Assembly is actually pretty easy because it's all clips and then it's a couple screws. So you want to put the back end first, just kind of slide it in there. Then it just, you gotta put a little bit of force on it. You'll know because it snaps. So it snaps, it's in there, but you're not done, because if you remember, we had these 2 screws right in here. Screw those in and this thing is done.